What if the biggest mistakes ruining someone's life aren't the things they do, but the things they say? Most people are taught that honesty means sharing everything. They believe that if they're open about their dreams, their struggles, their plans, and their past, people will trust them more. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? The problem is that psychology tells a very different story. The more information someone gives away without thinking, the easier they become to predict, influence, manipulate, and even defeat. That's one of the oldest truths Machiavelli ever understood. Yet almost nobody applies it today. Think about it. Why do some people always seem one step ahead? Why do they attract respect without constantly explaining themselves? Why do they achieve remarkable success while everyone else is still talking about what they're going to do? It isn't luck. It isn't talent. More often than not, it's their ability to practice strategic silence, maintain emotional control, and understand the invisible power dynamics that shape every relationship, every negotiation, and every opportunity. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Most people don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they reveal too much. They tell others about their next move before making it. They expose their fears to people who haven't earned their trust. They complain about private problems to the wrong audience. And without realizing it, they slowly hand over the very information that others need to limit, discourage, or manipulate them. In this video, you'll discover 7 things that should never be shared if you want to protect your reputation, strengthen your influence, and develop the kind of quiet confidence that speaks louder than words ever could. These aren't tricks or manipulation tactics. They're timeless principles rooted in psychology, sharpened by Machiavelli's observations of human nature and strengthened through self-discipline. By the end of this video, you'll begin seeing conversations, relationships, and even your own habits through an entirely different lens. Most people believe that being completely open makes them trustworthy, but psychology often proves the opposite. Someone who reveals every thought, every fear, and every plan slowly hands other people the map to their own mind. That's exactly why Machiavelli warned that influence begins long before words are spoken. The strongest person in the room usually isn't the loudest one. It's the one who knows when to speak, when to listen, and when strategic silence creates more impact than 100 explanations. Funny enough, people usually underestimate quiet people right until it's too late. Think about everyday conversations. One person can't stop talking about their frustrations at work, their financial struggles, their relationship problems, and every dream they're chasing. Meanwhile, another person listens carefully, asks a few thoughtful questions, and shares very little about themselves. Days later, guess which person is easier to manipulate during an argument, a negotiation, or even a friendship? The answer isn't complicated. Information creates leverage, and power dynamics quietly revolve around whoever possesses more knowledge while revealing less. A wise mentor once explained it using a simple image. Imagine 2 poker players sitting across from each other. One keeps smiling, talking, reacting to every card, while the other barely changes expression. The first player unknowingly gives away clues with every sentence, every emotion, every unnecessary explanation. The second player doesn't necessarily have better cards. They simply offer fewer opportunities to be read. That's where emotional control quietly becomes a form of invisible armor rather than just a personality trait. This doesn't mean becoming cold, distant, or mysterious for the sake of appearances. It simply means understanding that not every thought deserves an audience. When someone constantly explains themselves, they often seek approval without realizing it. A person practicing self-discipline learns to pause before speaking and silently asks, does sharing this actually improve my position? More often than not, the answer is surprisingly simple: it doesn't. That single habit alone can completely change the way others perceive confidence and authority. There's another hidden benefit that most people never notice. Silence forces others to reveal themselves first. People naturally dislike empty space in conversations, so they'll often keep talking just to fill the silence. They'll reveal opinions, intentions, insecurities, and even future plans without being asked twice. Someone guided by psychology understands that listening isn't passive at all. It's one of the most effective ways to understand human nature without announcing personal intentions to the world. Ironically, The more secure someone becomes, the less they feel the need to prove anything through words. Machiavelli understood that genuine influence isn't built by constant explanation, but by carefully managing what remains unseen. Strategic silence protects more than reputation. It protects options, freedom, and future opportunities that don't yet exist. And once someone discovers that hidden advantage, an even more important question quietly begins to emerge. If silence is this powerful, then what kinds of things should never be revealed at all? Every ambitious person feels the urge to announce their next big move. It's almost instinctive. A promotion, a business idea, a personal transformation, or even a bold new habit seems more exciting when shared with others. But psychology reveals something most people overlook. The moment a goal is spoken too early, it stops belonging entirely to the person pursuing it. Machiavelli understood that uncertainty is often a greater advantage than certainty. When people don't know what someone is planning, they're forced to guess, and those guesses rarely produce an accurate picture. History quietly repeats this lesson. The individuals who make the biggest moves are often the ones nobody sees coming. They don't spend months announcing what they're about to build. They spend those months building it. Strategic silence creates an invisible layer of protection around ambition because it removes unnecessary interference. Every opinion, every warning, every sarcastic comment has the potential to plant doubt where confidence once existed. Sometimes the greatest obstacle isn't failure itself. It's allowing too many voices into a vision that isn't ready to be examined. Imagine someone who decides to launch a business. On the very first day, they tell everyone they know. Some people smile politely, but secretly question whether it'll work. Others begin offering advice that was never requested. A few even laugh, saying the market is already too crowded. Suddenly, the person's energy shifts from creating to defending their decision. Instead of making progress, they're busy explaining themselves. Self-discipline means resisting that temptation and allowing results to become the first announcement anyone ever hears. The same principle applies to personal weaknesses. Many people believe complete vulnerability automatically creates stronger relationships. In the right environment, honesty certainly has its place, but there is a difference between selective trust and unrestricted exposure. Power dynamics change the moment sensitive information reaches someone who doesn't value loyalty as much as opportunity. A personal insecurity shared with the wrong person today may quietly become tomorrow's weapon during a disagreement, a competition, or a betrayal that nobody expected. This doesn't mean pretending to be perfect. Everyone carries fears, doubts, and unfinished battles behind closed doors. Emotional control simply teaches that not every struggle needs an audience while it's still unfolding. A wiser approach is to work through difficulties privately. Seek guidance only from people who have earned genuine trust, and allow growth to speak louder than confession. Ironically, people often respect resilience far more than repeated explanations about why life feels difficult. Perhaps the greatest advantage of remaining unpredictable is that it keeps others reacting instead of preparing. Machiavelli recognized that once opponents know where someone intends to go, they can begin placing obstacles long before the journey truly starts. Psychology shows that surprise has always been one of the quietest forms of influence, yet protecting future plans is only part of the equation. There is another area where unnecessary exposure quietly destroys authority, and it often begins with something people casually discuss every single day. Before we go any further, I need to tell you something. If what you've heard so far has made you realize that you've been giving away your power without even noticing it, then don't ignore this. I created an ebook called The Silent Influence Code for people who are tired of being underestimated, too predictable, or too easy to read. Inside, you'll discover the psychological signals that shape how people perceive, trust, and respond to you, inspired by timeless Machiavellian principles and modern psychology. These are practical strategies you can start using immediately to protect your plans, strengthen your presence, and influence people without saying more than necessary. If you're ready to stop making the mistakes that keep giving others the upper hand, click the link in the pinned comment and get your copy now. One small decision today could completely change the way people see you for the rest of your life. One of the fastest ways to lose control over how people perceive you is by turning your personal life into public entertainment. It may feel harmless to talk about your income, relationship arguments, or family struggles. But psychology suggests that every unnecessary detail gives someone else another piece of your story to interpret, distort, or even use against you. Machiavelli understood that reputation isn't built only by what people see, it's also protected by what they never get the chance to see. Strategic silence creates healthy boundaries, where respect naturally grows. Money is a perfect example. Some people proudly announce every raise, every investment, and every expensive purchase, believing success becomes more real when others notice it. In reality, public success often attracts emotions that have nothing to do with admiration. Envy, silent competition, unrealistic expectations, and hidden resentment frequently appear where applause once seemed guaranteed. Power dynamics shift because people stop relating to the individual and start comparing themselves instead. A quieter approach allows success to grow without inviting unnecessary attention. The same pattern appears inside relationships. After every disagreement, many people rush to friends, coworkers, or social media looking for validation. For a brief moment, it feels comforting to hear someone say, "You're right." But every complaint leaves a permanent impression in the minds of those listening. Even if the relationship heals, the audience rarely forgets what they heard. Emotional control means recognizing that temporary emotions should not create permanent opinions in the minds of people who only know one side of the story. Family challenges deserve the same level of protection. Every family experiences misunderstandings, disappointments, and moments of tension. Yet broadcasting those private battles often creates more problems than solutions. Instead of finding clarity, people unintentionally invite gossip, judgment, and unsolicited advice from those who don't truly understand the situation. Self-discipline teaches that privacy isn't about hiding shame. It's about giving important relationships the space to heal without outside interference constantly adding fuel to the fire. Consider two individuals facing identical circumstances. One spends months explaining personal struggles to anyone willing to listen, hoping understanding will bring relief. The other quietly focuses on solving the problem, speaks only with trusted mentors, and lets visible improvement become the conversation. Over time, people naturally begin to associate the second person with stability rather than chaos. Psychology explains that human beings often remember patterns more than isolated events, and consistent discretion slowly becomes part of someone's identity. Perhaps the greatest luxury in today's world is not wealth, status, or recognition. It's the freedom to live without feeling obligated to explain every chapter of life. Machiavelli knew that authority grows stronger when mystery replaces constant self-disclosure. Strategic silence protects not only reputation, but also peace of mind, allowing actions to define character instead of endless explanations. Yet even those who guard their present wisely can still weaken themselves in another surprising way, by speaking too soon about the future they're desperate to build. There is something strangely satisfying about telling people about a big dream before it becomes real. Whether it's starting a company, writing a book, changing careers, or transforming one's life, sharing the vision often feels like the first step toward making it happen. But psychology reveals a hidden trap that catches countless ambitious people. The excitement of talking about success can temporarily replace the satisfaction of earning it. Machiavelli understood that real progress grows best in silence, long before the world notices the results. Strategic silence protects dreams while they're still too fragile to withstand unnecessary attention. Every long-term vision begins as something delicate. In the early stages, confidence is still forming, habits are still developing, and mistakes are inevitable. That's precisely when outside opinions become the most dangerous. One skeptical comment from a friend, one sarcastic joke from a coworker, or one dismissive opinion from a relative can quietly plant seeds of doubt. The plan itself may still be possible, but now the person's energy is divided between building the future and defending it. Self-discipline means protecting that mental space until conviction becomes stronger than criticism. Think about someone training for a marathon. Instead of announcing the goal to everyone they know, they simply wake up each morning and run. Weeks pass without applause, without compliments, and without anyone noticing the effort. There are rainy mornings, sore muscles, and moments when quitting seems tempting. Yet because the commitment remains private, there's no pressure to perform for an audience. Emotional control allows the individual to focus on today's discipline rather than tomorrow's recognition. And little by little, quiet consistency accomplishes what loud motivation rarely can. Another overlooked danger is that public goals invite public expectations. Once everyone knows the destination, people begin measuring every step along the way. Some ask for updates every week. Others question why progress seems slow. A few secretly hope the plan fails because failure confirms their own excuses. Power dynamics shift in subtle ways because the individual is no longer moving freely. They're moving under observation. The dream slowly becomes a performance instead of a personal mission. And that pressure often steals the joy that inspired the journey in the first place. Ironically, the people who achieve extraordinary things are often the least interested in announcing them beforehand. They understand that results create a stronger impression than promises ever could. Psychology teaches that human beings naturally trust visible evidence more than optimistic predictions. That's why a quiet builder usually earns more respect than a loud dreamer. When success finally appears, it feels undeniable because nobody watched every uncertain step that came before it. They simply witnessed the finished work standing on its own. The wisest strategy isn't to stop dreaming big. It's to give those dreams room to grow away from constant observation. Machiavelli recognized that patience and secrecy often walk side by side, especially when the stakes are high. Strategic silence isn't about fear. It's about preserving momentum until success becomes impossible to ignore. But even after the future has been protected, another temptation remains. One that quietly convinces people to reopen old wounds by giving their past more attention than it truly deserves. Everyone has a chapter they wish had unfolded differently. A failed relationship, a business that collapsed, a betrayal that left deep scars, or a decision that still brings quiet regret. The difference between emotionally strong people and everyone else isn't that they escaped pain, it's how they choose to carry it. Psychology teaches that the past can either become a source of wisdom or a prison built from repeated storytelling. Machiavelli understood that dwelling on old defeats rarely strengthens a person. More often, it quietly hands others a version of them that no longer exists. There is a subtle danger in constantly revisiting past failures. Each time someone tells the same painful story, they reinforce that identity in their own mind. Before long, they stop saying, "I experienced failure," and begin believing, "I am a failure." That's a powerful psychological shift. Emotional control begins with recognizing that painful memories should be processed, learned from, and eventually placed where they belong, in the past, not at the center of every conversation. The strongest lessons often grow in silence, long before they become visible in someone's character. Imagine two people who both lose everything in a failed business. The first spends years introducing themselves through that experience, warning everyone about how badly life treated them. The second quietly studies what went wrong, rebuilds one small step at a time, and rarely mentions the collapse unless the lesson can genuinely help someone else. Years later, one person is remembered for the failure, while the other is recognized for the comeback. Self-discipline isn't about pretending the pain never happened. It's about refusing to let yesterday write tomorrow's identity. Seeking sympathy may provide temporary comfort, but it rarely produces lasting transformation. People naturally care, yet sympathy has an expiration date. Growth does not. Psychology suggests that others eventually become more interested in how someone responds to hardship than in the hardship itself. That's why strategic silence can become surprisingly powerful after disappointment. Instead of repeatedly explaining the wound, a wiser person quietly focuses on healing it. Over time, the visible results speak with far greater authority than any emotional retelling ever could. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or carrying burdens alone forever. There are moments when opening up to a trusted mentor, a close friend, or someone with genuine wisdom is both healthy and necessary. The key difference is intention. Sharing to receive guidance builds strength, while sharing endlessly to relive the pain often keeps the wound open. Power dynamics shift when a person becomes known, not for their excuses or regrets, but for their resilience, consistency, and ability to move forward despite every reason to stop. Perhaps the greatest revenge against a painful past is not proving someone else wrong. It's becoming someone unrecognizable to the person who once suffered. Machiavelli believed that true strength is demonstrated through transformation, not endless explanation. The world pays far more attention to disciplined action than to old stories of defeat. And once someone learns to stop living through yesterday, they discover the final lesson of real influence, becoming so composed, so controlled, and so unreadable that others can never predict what comes next. The people who leave the deepest impression are rarely the ones who demand attention. More often, they are the ones who move with quiet confidence, allowing their actions to create curiosity long before their words ever do. Psychology shows that human beings are naturally drawn to what they cannot fully predict or easily define. That is why Machiavelli viewed restraint not as weakness, but as one of the highest forms of strength. Strategic silence transforms an ordinary presence into one that others instinctively respect, because uncertainty has a way of commanding attention without asking for it. Being unreadable doesn't mean becoming cold, emotionless, or impossible to approach. It means developing enough emotional control that feelings no longer dictate every reaction. Most people reveal exactly what they're thinking through impulsive words, facial expressions, or emotional outbursts. They celebrate too early, complain too quickly, defend themselves too often, and unknowingly provide a constant stream of information about how they can be influenced. The person who remains calm in moments of pressure quietly changes the entire balance of power dynamics before anyone realizes what's happening. Consider a difficult negotiation or a heated disagreement. One individual rushes to fill every silence, explains every decision, and reacts immediately to every accusation. The other listens carefully, pauses before answering, and speaks only when their words genuinely add value. That brief pause often feels uncomfortable at first, but it carries enormous psychological weight. Psychology teaches that silence encourages others to reveal more than they originally intended, while measured responses project confidence far more effectively than emotional arguments ever could. This level of composure isn't a personality trait that a lucky few are born with. It's a skill developed through consistent self-discipline. It begins with simple habits, resisting the urge to answer every criticism, avoiding the need to justify every decision, choosing observation before reaction, and allowing emotions to settle before speaking. At first, these habits may feel unnatural, yet over time, they become second nature, creating a quiet confidence that no longer depends on approval, applause, or constant reassurance from other people. One of the greatest misconceptions about influence is believing that power comes from controlling others. In reality, the highest form of influence begins with controlling oneself. Machiavelli repeatedly pointed toward the importance of mastering human nature, and the first human nature anyone should understand is their own. A person who cannot control anger, excitement, fear, or pride will always be predictable. But someone who governs their own mind becomes remarkably difficult to manipulate because their responses are chosen, not triggered. In the end, the most powerful life is rarely the loudest one. It is built quietly, protected patiently, and revealed only through undeniable results. Strategic silence becomes more than a communication strategy. It becomes a way of thinking. Emotional control shapes every decision. Self-discipline strengthens every habit. And a deep understanding of psychology and power dynamics allows someone to walk through life with calm confidence instead of constant explanation. They no longer feel the need to announce who they are, because the life they build eventually speaks with a voice that words could never match. If there's one lesson to take away from everything you've heard today, it's this. Real power isn't found in saying more. It's found in knowing what deserves to remain unsaid. Every conversation is an opportunity to strengthen your position or weaken it. Every unnecessary revelation either gives away leverage or preserves it. The choice has always been yours. Starting today, pay attention to the moments when you feel the urge to explain yourself, announce your next move, or seek validation from people who haven't earned your trust. Ask yourself a simple question. Will sharing this make my life stronger, Or does it simply satisfy a temporary emotion? That single habit can completely change the way you approach relationships, opportunities, and even the way others perceive you. Remember, the strongest people aren't the ones who control everyone around them. They're the ones who master themselves through strategic silence, emotional control, self-discipline, and a deeper understanding of psychology and power dynamics. They become difficult to manipulate, impossible to predict, and increasingly respected without demanding attention. That's the quiet strength Machiavelli understood centuries ago, and it's just as valuable today. Now it's your turn. Which of these 7 lessons challenged the way you think the most? Have you ever shared something that later came back to hurt you? Or do you already practice staying silent about your plans in personal life? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them, and I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning the timeless principles of Machiavelli, psychology, strategic silence, emotional control, and personal mastery, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss the next lesson designed to help you think more strategically, act more wisely, and build a life that speaks for itself.